In the Netherlands, Venezuela presented historical evidence before the International Court of Justice to defend its historical position on the Guyana Esequiba controversy. In Ecuador, former Vice President Jorge Glass is stable after being transferred to a military hospital due to health issues. And Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu announced on Monday that there is already a date for the Israel Defense Forces' entry into Rafah. Hello and welcome to From the South. I'm Alejandra Garcia from teleSUR Studios in Havana, Cuba. We begin with the news. In the Netherlands, Venezuela presented arguments before the International Court of Justice, ICJ, to expose the truth and defend its historical position on the territorial controversy of Guyana Esequiba. The Vice President of Venezuela, Delcy Rodriguez, delivered before the ICJ a document and its copies with the historical truth and evidence that prove the delimitation of the borders and the title over the territory of Guyana Esequiba. The Venezuelan diplomat affirmed that the only valid instrument is the Geneva Agreement of 1966 and also affirmed that the award of 1899 was a fraud to dispose Venezuela. The government also claims its historical right over the Esequiba territory and denounces to the world that the aggression against Venezuela is orchestrated from Guyana. In this context, Rodriguez also denounced that Guyana, together with ExxonMobil and the United States, have been trying since 2015 to mock the 1966 Geneva Agreement.
Venezuela without delay opposed this dangerous unlawful move by Guyana, driven by ExxonMobil since 2015 and backed by the government of the United States of America, that only aims to disregard and mock the obligations clearly established for the parties in the Geneva Agreement of 1966.
Furthermore, the Vice President affirmed that the 1966 Geneva Agreement regarding the territorial dispute is in effect and must be complied with by the parties in accordance with international law.
On February 17, 1966, Venezuela, the United Kingdom, and British Guyana, now the Cooperative Republic of Guyana, signed the Geneva Agreement with the purpose of putting an end to the territorial dispute through a practical, acceptable and mutually beneficial arrangement. This agreement is in force and is the legal framework that must be complied with in good faith by the parties in accordance with international law.
And after presenting the historical evidence of Venezuela's sovereignty over Guyana Esequiba, the Venezuelan Executive Vice President, Delcy Rodriguez, posted on her X account Venezuela's official statement on the matter. Rodriguez wrote, "The truth of Venezuela will prevail in the face of the territorial dispossession committed through a fraudulent and criminal award. Venezuela as a whole, in national union, will recover the Guyana Esequiba by means of the Geneva Agreement. The moment of truth has arrived." On Monday, the foreign ministers of Colombia and Venezuela hold a dialogue during the first meeting of the follow-up mechanism of the Neighborhood and Integration Commission. The meeting is held in the Colombian-bordered city of Cúcuta. On X, Colombian Foreign Minister Luis Gilberto Murillo said they are making progress in harmonious relations with our neighboring countries. For his part, Venezuelan Foreign Minister Iván Gil posted on X that it was an honor to be in the city of Cúcuta to meet with the Colombian Foreign Minister and his outstanding team to strengthen unity and cooperation between our countries. During this visit, we will share positive news that will benefit both nations. In Ecuador, former Vice President Jorge Glass is stable after being transferred to a military hospital due to health issues. Activists of the Citizens' Revolution movement informed that Glass was transferred urgently to the military hospital of Guayaquil after his health deteriorated. The workers of the healthcare center said that Glass received first aid immediately. Sources close to the former vice president stated that he is already stable, besides informing that Glass is back on La Roca prison. The government of Ecuador recognized the persistence of an internal armed conflict just hours before the expiration of the state of emergency. On Sunday night, Ecuadorian President Daniel Noboa issued a decree in which he acknowledged the persistence of the armed conflict. In such sense, he established several measures for the national police and the armed forces of the country. Noboa reiterated the military's continued participation in control activities. In this regard, the police will remain deployed to guarantee the neutralization of armed attacks with the objective of safeguarding the security and well-being of the citizens. Mexico will send the United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres a report on the diplomatic crisis with Ecuador, aggravated by the cutting of formal ties. According to Mexican Foreign Affairs Secretary Alicia Bárcena, there is no justification for Ecuador's security forces to burst into the Mexican embassy in Quito, nor to physically assault diplomatic personnel and insult their dignity. This in reference to the events of the previous Saturday. The officials specified that the country's different diplomatic actions are currently advancing as a result of the incident, and authorities are drafting a lawsuit against Quito to present it before the International Court of Justice for violations of international law. Mexico held the first debate between presidential candidates. Among participants was Claudia Sheinbaum from Sigamos Haciendo Historia Oficialism Party. This coalition was formed by the Labor parties Verde Ecologista and Morena. The encounter included Xochitl Gálvez Ruiz for the opposition, Fuerza y Corazón por México coalition, and Jorge Álvarez Maínez for the Citizens Movement Party. Let's see some further data provided by our correspondent Aisa Garcia.
Sheinbaum, the candidate of officialism, has got the floor to open the first presidential debate.
First of all, I would like to congratulate the Diplomatic Corps of Mexico to Ecuador. They've just returned, so I'd like to praise them for their courage.
Health, education, cracking down corruption and violence against women were the issues of the first debate among the three candidates.
Our project is to strengthen all, starting with prevention actions and even tackling the most complex assistance and care of any diseases, including the provision of free medicines. We've got the budget to make our project happen. Healthcare system has been destroyed, Claudia. You've got to accept it. People could have an electronic prescription with this card so that they could go to any pharmacy they want.
Therefore, we can't trust those who already let down Mexico.
Beyond proposals, attacks prevailed, particularly on the opposition candidate's side.
It's unbelievable, Claudia, that 19 children and 7 adults passed away due to your indolence. I insist you are a cold-hearted lady, Claudia.
It's good people know the actual Xochitl, who has been saying previous the debate that I was going to come to attack her, but as soon as she could she stroke a blow against someone she had begged lately to back her. That someone is Dante Delgado. But the new and the old has nothing to do with how old people are. We don't disqualify people due to their age. Hence, it's weird her attack on Dante. You have never seen Dante with Lamborghinis as you have seen Xochitl's best friend.
Second lie of Priyan's candidate, we just have to see her heritage statements at the Senate of the Republic, which are totally contradictory. Even one of her companies are not mentioned at the heritage statements.
Candidate Claudia Sheinbaum referred that Priyan's candidate Xochitl Gálvez told nothing but lies, and that among the three candidates, she is the only one with outcomes. So far, polls keep Sheinbaum as the leading candidate, leverage that doubles the voting intention of Gálvez, who appears as second favorite.
In Argentina, the Union The Traviarios Automotor warned about the possibility of a bus strike if the government does not give an answer to its claim regarding the non-payment of salaries. The transport union demanded a basic salary to the drivers with an increase of 34% in comparison with the salary of February 2024. This according to what was agreed with the businesses chambers and the Secretary of Transport. However, the companies allege that they cannot comply with the amount of payments because they do not have the necessary funds. If confirmed, the bus strike could start at 6 p.m. local time. Let's take a short break, but remember you can join us on TikTok at teleSUR English, where you will find news in different formats, news updates, and more. Other stories coming up, stay with us. Welcome back. Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu announced on Monday that there is already a date for the Israel Defense Forces entry into Rafah. Netanyahu reiterated that in order to achieve a complete victory over Hamas, it is imperative to carry out the military operation in the Palestinian city south of the Gaza Strip. The politician stressed that they have been working all along to achieve their goals and maintains that he received a detailed update on the negotiations in Cairo and that the release of the kidnapped hostages remains one of the priorities. Despite multiple international appeals not to attack Rafah, where more than 1 million displaced people have taken refuge, Netanyahu has shown his determination to continue his bloody offensive. In Palestine, at least 32 civilians have been killed and 47 others injured as a result of Israeli attacks over the past 24 hours. According to medical sources, the troops carried out a series of airstrikes and artillery shelling that targeted areas in the center and south of the Gaza Strip on the 185th day of the Israeli aggression. Warplanes attacked residential areas in and around Rafah city, as well as refugee camps. According to the Palestinian Ministry of Health, over 33,200 Palestinians have been killed by Israel since October 2023, and at least 75,933 have been injured by the persistent bombings. In Gaza, nearly 1.1 million people are suffering the most severe stage of hunger due to food shortages amid the Israeli siege. According to the World Food Programme, the number of civilians in Gaza facing catastrophic hunger has doubled in less than 3 months, from 570,000 in December to the current 1.1 million. The agency said it is the highest number ever recorded under the Integrated Food Security Classification System. The agency also said malnutrition among children is rampant, with 1 in 3 children under the age of 2 is now severely malnourished. In Israel, thousands of citizens gathered in protest to demand new agreements with Palestine, including the release of hostages in Gaza. The demonstrators crowded in front of the Israeli parliament, where they expressed their dissatisfaction with the decisions of the executive regarding the conflict. They also demanded the government increase its efforts to guarantee the release of prisoners despite the conflicts with neighboring Palestine. At the same time, different organizations and nations have spoken up to urge a cessation of hostilities by Israel against the Gaza Strip. On Sunday, the Israeli Zionist army carried out new bombardments that caused damage of high magnitude in cities and villages in southern Lebanon. The attacks hit areas of cities such as Der Kanun, Janata, Taura, and Wadi Barha. In the last few months, more than 340 people were killed by Israeli attacks in Lebanon. As a consequence of the constant bombardments, many Lebanese bordered neighborhoods are now reduced to rubble, and their communities are displaced. The Lebanese resistance movement Hezbollah affirms that it will continue its military operations against Israel until it puts an end to the genocide against the Palestinian people in the Gaza Strip. In the Netherlands, Nicaragua accuses Germany at the International Court of Justice for supplying arms and assistance to Israel amid the genocide against the Palestinian people in the Gaza Strip. This Monday, the preliminary hearings began in the main judicial instance of the United Nations. Nicaragua has requested legal actions for the German government to immediately suspend its aid to Israel, especially the shipment of weapons. Managua maintains that Berlin facilitates acts of genocide and violations of international law in the Gaza Strip, where more than 33,000 Palestinians have been killed. In this sense, the Nicaraguan delegation affirmed in a 43-page document that Germany violated the 1948 United Nations Genocide Convention created after the Holocaust. Nicaragua presents its arguments this Monday, while Germany will respond the next day. We have a final short break coming up, but before we invite you to join our WhatsApp community for our English-speaking audience. You can scan the QR code on screen to join directly and share the link to reach more people. Constant news coverage of Latin America and the Caribbean, as well as the rest of the world. Stay connected and informed with teleSUR. Final short break. Don't go away. Welcome back to From the South. In Russia, authorities in Tyumen province have declared a state of emergency due to heavy rains in the region. Tyumen authorities assured this measure was taken to reduce the risk in case of landslides or floods due to river floodings. The state of emergency gives operational services more means to protect the population and the territory. The team formed to face emergencies in the province includes more than 12,000 people, 2,600 equipments, and about 200 boats. The Russian Emergency Ministry has warned about a new branch in the dam on the Ural River in the town of Orsk in the Orenburg Oblast. The agency said the breach occurred near the village of Lesotorgovi, increasing the danger of flooding in other areas of Orsk. The authorities also noted that the rising water is affecting houses near the dam area. On Sunday, Chinese Premier Li Qiang met with U.S. Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen in Beijing. The Chinese premier said his nation hopes that the United States will abide by the basic norms of market economy, including fair competition and open cooperation, refrain from turning economic and trade issues into political or security issues. Li added that China is willing to strengthen policy coordination with the United States on climate change and other issues to jointly address global challenges. For her part, Yellen said that with the joint efforts of both sides, the U.S.-China relationship has become more stable. The U.S. Treasury Secretary is on an official visit to China from April 4th to 9th. In Mozambique, authorities reported a total of 100 people dead following the sinking of a boat carrying over 130 people off the coast of the northern province of Nampula. Authorities said that the fishing boat was traveling between the town of Lunga and the island of Mozambique when it capsized after being hit by a wave. Nampula State Secretary Jaime Neto informed that the boat sank because it was overcrowded and could not carry that amount of passengers. He also said that the victims were trying to escape from the area due to the panic caused by misinformation about a cholera outbreak. For the time being, the search for several missing people continues. Volunteers prepare traditional pastries called kak in Rafah in the southern Gaza Strip ahead of Eid al-Fitr celebrations, which come at the end of the Muslim holy month of Ramadan. The three-day festival celebrates the completion of the fasting month of Ramadan by Muslims across the world. As a new moon was not sighted on Monday evening after Maghrib prayers, Muslims in Saudi Arabia and neighboring countries will fast one more day, completing 30 days of Ramadan. The first day of Eid will then be celebrated on Wednesday, April 10th. The first day of Eid AlFitr is determined by the sighting of the crescent moon, marking the start of the month of Shawwal, the 10th month of the Islamic calendar.
We managed to launch this project out of nothing. Access to resources is very difficult, but with our efforts and initiators, we try to obtain the food stuff as much as possible.
We have come to the end of this news brief, but you can find these and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net and join us on social media, Facebook, X, Instagram, Telegram and TikTok. For Telesur English, I'm Alejandra Garcia. Thank you for watching.